Hi, me again. It's time for another Ask a Psychologist. Deb actually threw a pretty good one at me, and I'm going to quantify this two separate ways. Because there's two ways that the question can be taken. She wanted to know, is it part of human nature for a parent to want their child to develop, move up and out and on with their lives? And the answer to that really depends on what you mean by human nature. Generally, when people say human nature, they mean one of two things. Something that's common among all people and is at our root source, and the other one is something that's specifically human but not shared by anything else. Um, on the first definition, it's very clear cut, and it's really a matter of observance. The more we find out about other cultures, the more we open ourselves to other thoughts and other points of view, the more we will actually start to see more of ourselves in them. And that'll identify a lot of things there. In terms of things that are specifically us, that's a very small list. In the animal world, specifically when you get into the great apes, I'm thinking of like the chimps. Um, Chimps, gorillas, most of your higher primates have that view, and there's something that keeps that from being specific to us because we find out that we're more similar to them. So if you're asking, is it specific for humans to want to see their children grow up and move out and get their own lives? The answer to that's no. Um, Now, anomalies do happen, but it's documented, and actually Jane Goodall was one of the pivotal people who actually spent enough time with the chimpanzee troop to identify that behavior going on. Much of what was considered to be exclusively human behavior was observed going on unnoticed within a lot of these troops, and it was kind of interesting. Now, if you're asking, is it a commonality for all humans to want to see their children grow up and move out and move on with their lives? It depends on how you mean by move out and up with their on with their lives of their own. There are, of course, some cultures where you have communal living, and with that, there's an expectation that they'll stay within the same family unit. However, even in non-hierarchical cultures, you see that desire to have your offspring take on a role and do well with it. So, yeah, it actually is. Um, but each culture will define what moving on and up and out means. In the United States, that probably means, getting a place of your own, um, settling down, possibly making a family at the very least, finding someone that you love, and actually starting to make your own story in the Encyclopedia of America. Um, However, that can also mean different things to different flavors in the melting pot. It strictly comes down to, do you want to see your offspring mature? Yes. Are there roadblocks to that? Yes. Is that normal? Yes. Uh, I mean, there's a whole lot of yeses in this, and I like to say yes a lot, but it is part of what we are as people to actually want our offspring to step up and achieve, and what that can be indicated of. My brain's not working. It's like 8:17 on a Saturday. Um, it's more attributable, I think, to two factors. One is that most people would agree that humans don't lose their maternal instinct. There are some animals, reptiles, birds, once you hit a certain age, they don't recognize their offspring as their offspring anymore. It's like, no, get out. You're mature. You're an adult. I don't know who you are. Move on. Um, as most people would agree, humans and the great apes have a tendency to You can grow up, you can get a PhD, you can do whatever you like, but you'll always be my baby. And we never lose that mindset on that. Your child is always your child. Um, but to be honest, there can be some stagger steps back. It really doesn't diminish anything. And I can honestly say there's one other part of human nature that really needs to be mentioned here, and that is that every parent I've ever known didn't think they did a good enough job. They'll comment, "I think I did the right things. I think I instilled good values, but I'm not sure." Um, and what you need to do is you need to not so much focus on things that are tangible, but look to what you tried to develop when your offspring is growing up. Do they recognize good from evil? Do they care? Do they do things for others? I mean, these are the things that I would like to see passed on. Unfortunately, I can see that in my sons and my grandson to an extent. He's not into sharing peppermint, but we're working on that. It's it's more of a thing of looking to find an answer that makes you comfortable and what is important to you. Um, Going by the phrasing of the question, since it says out and on your own, have read some articles recently about where a lot of children are moving back into their parents' home right now, especially with the economy as it is. And I can imagine that that would be a frustration. But as it pertains to your question, I don't think that out necessarily means move up and on with your own life. Um, it's very malleable. We live in a very sophisticated society, and there are a lot of different views on what that can mean. So it's more of a complex question than it needs to be, but it's pretty interesting. The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, but if you start to hit a stumbling point, you need to really think about what's important that you wanted to impart. Um, Also, I wanted to take a moment to just let everybody know that I am getting a lot of good questions, and a lot of the good questions are prefaced by "This may be a stupid question." Um, the only reason I've referred to one question that I've gotten as stupid, I should refer to that as being from a stupid individual. Um, and by that I mean someone who really doesn't like facts as they stand and really wasn't interested in the answer that I gave. Um, Going on that basis, I also wanted to make a cross reference going back to the piece that we did on intelligent design. I'm not going to be answering any more of that person's questions, and I wanted to explain why. I made the statement that I would not say no to any question just because it's, taboo or whatever, or too out of bounds. But what I've been able to find out is the person who asked the question about intelligent design has asked those same questions to other scientists on YouTube. And apparently it's a matter of goading them into wanting to debate. The problem is what they're using as the term debate is an in-person, like high school debate, where it goes on opinion. And to be blunt about it, that's not what scientific debate does. Um, I informed that person that I would be willing to engage with them in a scientific debate, defined what that scientific debate would be, and I have been told in no uncertain terms that I'm picking and choosing. So I'm ignoring that person from here on. If someone's already given you an answer and you don't like it, and it's the scientific answer, I'm not going to be able to give you one that's much different. And if you have a belief that goes against science, that's totally your prerogative. However, you don't have to take up my time with it. Um, that person actually has gone back and forth with me often enough that I have had to put off Deb's question and a couple of other questions that I'm going to try to get to today. And I don't think that that's fair. I think that that person is trying to monopolize my time to establish some kind of point. And from what I can tell up to now, the tactic used is to constantly talk and try to cause enough harassment until someone stops talking, then he claims victory. So I'm going to give it to him on this one. He can have it. He can say that I'm afraid of him, whatever. Um, but I'm weighing the benefit that a lot of people said that they were getting from this segment against his need to want to bicker and completely haze his eyes over several points. And I don't think that we need to get this thing drawn into a very bad area. I always like to keep things in good areas. And speaking of good areas, if you want to, if you're an adult and you want to have fun with yourself in a good area, our sponsor is exoticenvy.com. They're reasonably priced adult toys, and from what I understand, they're very low. I'm not going to be prudish about it. I have ordered, but yeah, it's definitely worth a look. If you're in the market for anything, whether it's a present for your significant other or something for yourself, definitely someplace you might want to check out. That's exoticenvy.com. And I think there's a link for it on my YouTube channel. But again, we have 3 segments. StarCraft 2 tips because it's an awesome game. Ask a psychologist and ask a scientist. And if you have any other questions, definitely feel free to let me know. Nothing's really out of bounds. I might hedge on good taste, but even then I'll respond to you in an email. Okay? And if you're on Facebook, shoot it to me that way. If you're on YouTube, just send it to me in a direct message. I'll be more than happy to get to it. And definitely remember to let me know if you'd rather stay anonymous or if I can use your nickname or your real name. Thanks very much, and try to be good to each other.